Chovos HaLevavos. We're speaking at various levels. We left off page 70. Page 70, we spoke about the various levels of Yichud Hashem. People, they say things, so sometimes they say it, it's purely a manner of speech, but they don't believe in the unity of God. You know? Obama says, God bless America. Does he mean what he says? Doesn't mean what he says. Okay? Lavdu. So a person says, thank God. Doesn't resonate, nothing. It's a manner of speech. Then there's a person where what he says he means, but what is the basis for what he says? Of course, he was brought up with that. But is it really proven to him and internalized as a reality? It's a reality because that's what he accepted. He doesn't know any better, as he says. He understands to some degree what it means. Because he was taught. He was taught a Jew was supposed to believe. So he believes. But it was never verified to him. He accepts it. But this person who accepts it, he could have serious questions. He could have certain events in his life, even not serious events, which will cause him to cast doubt. It's interesting. In the United States, in Europe, when they came here, you know, the father was a tailor, the mother was a housekeeper, and they raised the son, sent him to college. This is before there was Jewish education in America. He becomes a college graduate. He loves his parents. There's nothing he wouldn't do for his parents. And the parents were observant Jews, believing Jews. The father would not work under any circumstance on Shabbos. And the parent, the son, would look at the father in a pitiful way. He says, fortunately, they don't understand. The son, being more educated, believes. He knows he understands better than the parent. Why? Although as a child he was raised, a Jew believes and this and that. Once you feel you're enlightened, you see it totally different. Because initially, whatever he was taught, it was really, he wasn't aware of many other things. The moment he becomes aware of other things, he becomes enlightened, then he sees, you know, it's my father, you know, he's a pure person. I love him, I respect him. I wouldn't hurt his feelings, but what does he understand? That's the way it is. So initially, what was the basis for in his upbringing? What was his basis for his beliefs? It never really took root because he didn't know differently. But whatever he believed up to a point. Yeah, but some people don't grow. You don't grow. It's purely, which means a person, it's not, he in any way tries to verify what his beliefs are. If you study, then you verify it. Then you see differently. And life's experiences continuously reinforce that belief. But if you don't study, you don't even think about it. You believe in God, yes. And then you continue. There's a famous story I always say over Rishon Salanter. Rishon Salanter was the genius of his generation. He was many things. He was unique. He was an orator. He had a presence. He was an intellect, genius. And he had a son, unfortunately, who went off. Was not a Shomer Shabbos. And his son was the only person in Russia who received, you know, the Tsar was a rabbi anti-Semite. Jews weren't even permitted to go to university. His son was such a mathematical genius that they made him the exception, and he actually won an award because he came upon a certain theory in mathematics, and he was acknowledged by the Tsarist government in this. And all his colleagues, all his peers, they were all Gentiles, and he always spoke of his father. Whenever he spoke with his father, with the greatest reverence and respect. Rabbi Yisrael's son, although he wasn't a Shomer Shabbos, and his colleagues, the Goyim, you know, father's an ancient, archaic Jew. What is he talking about him? And he said, and his colleague was working on something, a thesis in some, whatever it was, quantum mathematics, quantum something, quantum physics. And he was writing his thesis. And he says to him, what does your father understand? So he got upset with his goy, with his colleague. He says, you're working 6 years on your thesis. You present the question to my father, within 2 minutes, he will write your thesis. He says, impossible. They traveled to Vilna. His father was in Vilna at the time. And this non-Jew, this Gentile, presents what he's working on, the thesis. He's trying to present it, flesh it out, write a thesis. Rabbi Slahi, his father, the quill with a piece of parchment. Within 2 minutes, he sketches something, and that was it. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Ancient Jew. He never saw such genius in his life. It was so, Here, so he revered his father, revered him. So if you revere him and your father believes, you don't believe. Because if you believe, how do you violate Shabbos? And it caused his father tremendous pain that his son went off. Okay? So evidently, it didn't resonate. He was brought up with it, this and that, but it would never took root in a way that when other things present themselves, that you see it clear enough. So what do? So then you choose your own path. And he chose his own path. So it's interesting. When I first moved to Monsey, there was an Englishman in Or Sameach. He was a great-grandson of Rabbi Sosalanter from that son. Came from Liverpool, England. His name was Fletcher. What was his name? Fletcher. It was the mother. His mother was a granddaughter of Rabbi Sosalanter. And he came back, became a fully observant Jew. That's the story. To be continued. Rabbi Dessler was a grandson of Rabbi Sosalanter. Yeah. Yes. From his mother. Strike the truth. About Rabbi Sosalanter. They study his Mussar works. SAR will take on a whole different. But you realize originally, when I went in the 50s, it was called Salanter originally, not Akiva. It was in the Bronx. There was a yeshiva in the Bronx. It was called Salanter. There was a Rabbi Gorelik who was a yeshiva in